Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
You know, being Seattle Hemp Fest and being the largest, most sophisticated cannabis policy reform event in the world, we try to make things up to you. You know, we're going to do a countdown for the 420 here and all that stuff, but you know, I'll tell you, we felt so bad about the fact that Tommy couldn't be here that we decided to do something about it.
You know, there's been this rumor floating around, and I'm going to address it right now. I got to tell you people that I decided to quit smoking. And then I realized, hey, I'm not a quitter. Some people. First of all, I want to thank all the vendors. I want to thank the Seattle Hemp Fest for having me out here. I want to thank all these volunteers who work so hard for no money. A lot of volunteers around here. I want to thank the police for keeping the peace. I want to thank some people who don't get a lot of credit and really deserve it. I want to thank those people walking around here selling magic cookies, brownies. They don't get the credit they deserve. You guys are definitely the most energized pot smokers I've ever run across. I think it was appropriate to start here in Seattle because it's the home of the place where the young and the young of heart took to the streets and flashed a giant neon sign saying, "We're not putting up with this shit anymore. WTO, go home. Find an island." It's because there's an amazing propaganda machine in this country. Don't you think? I mean, it's a propaganda machine that makes us actually believe that we live in a democracy when we know we don't live in a democracy. I mean, it's a propaganda machine that talks about us living in a free country when we know we're not living in a free country. You're free to do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't go against what the government wants you to do. So how are we going to turn that around? I say things like this: the Seattle Hemp Fest are the way to turn this thing around. Every one of you people who showed up here today, you're making a statement, and I'm damn proud of you. And you know what I have to say? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think it will change. I think it will change. Thank you all for coming out here today. I really love my heart.
Say your name with one breath. in your tie and legalize the herb and drop all the lies, 'cause it's a losing battle. Wake up! Every struggle for freedom, they'll put us to the test. So it's time to exercise our rights and put on a hemp fest. And we'll educate the youth who soon will rule the land. 'Cause it's just a matter of time, and it's time to take a stand. 'Cause it's a losing battle, one that money can't win. Been going on for years, just keeps right on going. Like a cold war with the commies, prohibition and the like. You can throw us all in prison, but you cannot win the fight, 'cause it's a losing battle.
Because we're only talking about good things for good people. This man Jim knows. Take a good look at him. He's been through it.
This is Vivian McPeak at Seattle Hemp Fest here at Myrtle Edwards Park. I'm with THC TV and Seattle Hemp Fest, and we just had Woody Harrelson speak. He's enjoying some munchies now and some refreshments. We've got the herbivores, our house band playing. We've got so many people out there, I don't know how to count them.
Hey, Mr. Politician, time to wake up.
I'm standing here at Hemp Fest in Seattle with Keith Strop, the founder of Normal. And thank you for that. And what do you think of this event?
It's my favorite event of the year. I travel around and do a number of these kinds of things, but there's nothing on the scale of the Seattle Hemp Fest other than the Seattle Hemp Fest. So for those who haven't seen it, it is incredibly empowering. And I think 12, 13 years now I've been coming in. I find it fascinating, and I think people in other parts of the country are beginning to pick up on that same phenomena. And the Boston Freedom Fest is coming up in the month, and that's a wonderful thing on the Boston Common with all the history associated with that. And in the Portland Hemp Sock, and that's about the middle of next month as well. I was there last year.
So 12th and 13th of September.
12th and 13th of September. If you're in the region at all and you identify with marijuana smokers or as marijuana smoking, for Christ's sake, come to this thing. You will find lots of people that are like-minded individuals like you. And as I say, you'll feel empowered by it.
This is peace, love, and understanding that we're doing here. Peace, love, and understanding.
Save your seeds. It doesn't take a miracle to cultivate the weeds.
You can't sell brownies, you can't sell pot, you can't sell Rice Krispies at HempFest. Why? Because we know how to keep this thing going, and that will bring us down. We have an unprecedented amount of freedom here. No other city in the world, no other rally in America especially. I don't think anybody in the world is doing quite what we're doing. So please understand, we do not want to be the narcs, man.
We arrested our 20 millionth American on marijuana charges. Are you ready for 420? In the midsummer, the state of California determined that it would be missing $1.4 billion in taxes if we didn't legalize it in California. Probably 10 times that many nationally. We've helped almost 100,000 people in 8 states, get a medical marijuana permit. So that means they can legally possess, use, and grow medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is a great step forward, but it's not the end. What we need to do is end adult marijuana prohibition, restore industrial hemp, and help medical marijuana patients.
The man who started it all, Jack Miller.
Hemp will be the future of all mankind, or there won't be a future.
Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, we're going to legalize marijuana no matter what happens in 10 years, because when 60% of the American public wants something, they're going to get it. Contact your legislators. Tell them, end marijuana prohibition. It's time to tax and regulate it. The more letters they get like that, the sooner the day will arrive. We're going to legalize marijuana!
Peaceful. Look at this. It doesn't even. What if this was a drink fest, alcohol fest, meth fest, heroin fest, cocaine fest? There'd be dead people here. There'd be fights. There'd be stabbings. But it's pot fest. It's hemp fest. We are proud. We are loud. Give me thanks. E-M-P. What do we want?
I freaking love HempFest. HempFest is the shit. HempFest is badass.
Go HempFest!
September 12th and 13th, Portland, Kelly Point Park. Yay, please come. Everybody's welcome.
Bringing up LV Musica, one of the only living members of a government program. She gets marijuana from the federal government in the mail each year. LV, welcome to Seattle Hemp Fest, darling.
We're back! We're back! We're back! And I'm looking forward to the day we come back here to celebrate that laws at last are a thing of the past when it comes to our issue. I wish it was as simple as just going, waiting for the mail. No, unfortunately, they make me go to Florida at least once a year, hang out there for a month or two. It's at the height of winter. I don't mind that too bad. I get to pick up my marijuana grown in Mississippi. Cannot be mailed to me to Oregon. Even if I have doctors here, I have to go. Anyway, we're all working on so many issues all around the country. Rhode Island, of course, being the latest state that already has medical marijuana and has dispensaries, and they are very happy there.
Yes, they are.
We now have 15 states, and when these elections are over, no telling how many more. Also, there are several things going on with initiatives. In my state of Oregon, we don't have dispensaries. And it's hard to find your medicine when the mites get your grower's crop, or when for whatever reason you just can't be found. And then if you're traveling, think of the convenience of stopping somewhere. You got your card with you, you can stop and choose a medicine that will suit you for that particular part of your journey. It's all very wonderful that we get together. Now we got a good administration, and we got Holder, who we certainly have educated right here in Seattle, right, all these years from the Justice Department. He is handing out rules and making decisions for us. It's more important than ever that we get in touch with our legislators and see what we can do. Time for him. We definitely passed it in Oregon so that marijuana is a Schedule II, not a Schedule I drug. So that's against the lie that we are propagating from Mr. Nixon's time still on to now, and which could be wiped out with one executive order. Your president needs to hear from you. There are people trying to help, and Gasper on the radio has gotten Ed Rosenthal to finance a project in which some of the legal smokers and I will go to Washington with Marilyn Matrix, who's one of the co-founders of Patients Out of Time, and trying to explain to our legislators that we cannot continue to uphold this prohibition. It's causing too much pain, too much heartache. There are so many medicines right now that are being patented using parts or some of marijuana. Marijuana is medicine, and everyone knows that now. But the most exciting things that are going on, as Rick Simpson showed us at the beginning of this year with his tape, Run from the Cure. However, now there's a newer tape that really goes into all the leads about cancer and cannabis, and there is no way to ignore this scientific evidence anymore. So we really need to present it and make it clear to our legislators. We need our health back. We don't need to have this many cancers. We need to have plenty of pure hemp seed oil like they do in Finland. And cancer is prevented because it leaves a coat protecting your immune system. Manitoba here makes wonderful non-narcotic hemp seed oil that we should also take. I am concerned about California and their new law. I would like to see changes. However, when it puts so many more restrictions on the bad laws we already have, making them worse, there's no way I could go for that. I'm sorry. Pay attention to what you're doing and keep it moving, keep it going strong. Remember that you are part of the largest majority of people, that's right, in the United States. There is no segment in your community that doesn't have pot smokers, whether you only hang out with judges, doctors, nurses, any other professionals, or whether you don't have a professional goal at all, but you're an entrepreneur and you do well with your life, or whether you're doing nothing. Chances are you know people who smoke if you don't smoke yourself. Okay, it's time for me to leave you, but I gotta remind you that as I travel, and I have done every state in the United States and several countries, the only opposition I ever find is from the pharmaceutical industries, the insurance industries, and most of all, the corrupt prison system. Somebody misquoted me and said the press. I love the press. They've always been good to me. It's the prison. Let the true spirit of love always be your guiding light. And I hope next year we come to celebrate. Thank you. Thank you, Vivian. Keep up the good work.
Healthy Musica, show your love. Gatewood Galbraith, come on up here, my brother man, all the way from Kentucky. To tell you some truth, this guy's been doing this longer than HempFest has been doing this. Give him some warm love.
Thank you very much, friend. Hey, thank you all. Listen, I hope you all remember that the theme of this HempFest is "This One's for You, Jack." This one is for Jack Hare. For a lot of you young folks out there, if it wasn't for Jack Hare, you wouldn't be here at this HempFest, because there wouldn't be a HempFest. Jack Hare is responsible for it. I'm going to take a couple of minutes to pay tribute to my friend Jack Hare, who passed this past several months ago. Here's my tribute to him. Jack Hare is a social and philosophical tsunami, the ripples from whose splash will forever grace the shores of human consciousness in every freedom-loving nation. He is the grand champion of we the people and a natural cycle in our battle with the synthetic subversion which threatens the very concept of the sovereignty of each human individual. Jack's tireless efforts to eliminate the facts about cannabis have furnished freedom fighters everywhere with the tools of knowledge with which to resist the fascism of the corporate state as it seeks to subject everyone to its economic bottom line. Jack recognized that cannabis is a gateway to existentialism, which enlightens our existence and is the basis of our freedom of choice. He also recognized the miraculous healing powers of this herb, and many sick and dying people have found comfort in its use after reading his wonderful manifesto, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I am one of them. Jack Hare's grand spirit may have left his worn-out body, but he has entered into the hearts and minds of millions of us who will forever be grateful to have been educated by his commitment to the truth. God bless you, Jack Hare. The message that Jack and I have is that your younger generation are open to perils to which he and I never had to conceive. That there is a great move afoot to take you out of the property of sovereign human beings and put you into the property of the man. The man. The petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, fascist, elite son of a bitches. Who see the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as impediments to the implementation of their New World Order and global economy. And they are not warm and fuzzy about you or me or our children or grandchildren. And they are afraid to give everybody in the rest of the world due process and constitutional rights. So in order to make it one world, they're going to take ours away. And the question of hemp, the question of cannabis, is the most vivid illustration of how this government has overstepped its bounds in policing the private behavior of citizens. When they told us we couldn't plant a hemp seed in the ground, they severed us from the natural cycle. That is what they seek to do. I call it the synthetic subversion, where they want to replace all the natural products on earth that used to be grown out of God's earth and God's seed, and replace them with synthetic products and knocked our farmer out of the agrarian society and the agrarian market and made the ghost towns of our small cities and villages across this country. We need to rediscover a cash crop, one that will allow our farmers to go back to the land, one that will allow our farmers to compete with the petrochemical pipelines. You plant U.S. 7% agricultural land in hemp, you wouldn't have to import another drop of oil. We can replace the spills in the Gulf. We can replace the environmental catastrophe that the petroleum pipelines have cast upon Mother Earth, and instead let our farmers grow hemp as a fuel crop. In 1991, Willie Nelson and I poured hemp oil into my Mercedes diesel and drove it across Kentucky in my bid for governor. That's why he started his biofuel plant. Listen, folks, you all have been handed a torch. Jack Hare, bless his soul, passed away. I'm getting old up here. You know, we cannot carry this ball much longer. You have to become educated. You have to learn the truth. You have to reach out there and grab the responsibility of maintaining your freedom. Every generation must rewin its own freedoms. And those very sacrifices, right up to the very last second I've been talking to you, made on your behalf, cannot continue anymore. What really counts is your all's commitment to what sacrifices you're willing to make in the future to maintain your freedom. And it's right there in front of you. I encourage you to learn the law. I encourage you to learn the political process. I encourage you to reach out there and take responsibility of your own freedom. Live your life like a warrior. God bless you all. Thanks for having me out here in Seattle.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Hempfest, yeah. Well, I'm a travel writer. And for me, High is a place. It's a great place. It's a place where I can cook well. My speakers sound better. It's a place where conversations slither around like stray cats. Sometimes I want to go to that place, and a lot of people do. And our government says we can't go there. And today, 80,000 Americans who wanted to go to that place and went there are in jail in our country. Now, there are scenarios where I think it's okay for our government to say you can't go there. But there better be a good reason when my government says I can't go somewhere. And when it comes to getting high, I don't think there's a good reason for our government to say no. I believe that the mature, responsible, adult, recreational use of marijuana is a civil liberty. It is a civil liberty. Now, it's a drug. It's a drug, and I'm not promoting it. I acknowledge it's not healthy. It can be abused. It can be addictive. It's not for kids, and if you drive intoxicated by anything, they should throw the book at you. Yeah. But that doesn't get in the way from the principle that enjoying marijuana is a civil liberty. That's something we need to communicate to our society. Now, our government is waging a war against marijuana, a perpetual, never-ending, losing, expensive, demoralizing to our police force, eroding credibility to our teachers and parents war on marijuana. It's a war based on lies. It's a war that costs our society billions of dollars every year, and it's a war that messes up hundreds of thousands of American lives every year. This year alone, 800,000 Americans were arrested for enjoying marijuana. They've got a criminal record now. Now, I bring a European perspective to the discussion. I've spent a third of my life hanging out in Europe with people who think marijuana is about exciting as a can of beer. It's just not a big deal. Now, when you think about the European approach to drug problems, and they've got drug problems just like we've got drug problems, they measure their drug problems or the success of their policies on drugs not by how many people do you lock up, but they measure it based on a concept called harm reduction. This is a radical difference between our and their approach to drug abuse and drug problems. In Europe, they want to take the crime out of the equation and consider it a health problem and an education challenge. And my European friends tell me time and time again that a society has to make a choice: tolerate alternative lifestyles or build more prisons. And then they always needle me with that annoying little comment that, and in your country, the United States of America, you lock up more people than anybody else in the world. Wow. We lock up 8 times as many people per capita as Europeans do. Wow. Either we're inherently more criminal, or there's something screwy about our laws. And most of those people in our jails are in there on drug charges. Now, what shapes American policy on drugs? Fear. Fear is a huge thing in our society, and it's a big part of this war on drugs. Generations of reefer madness propaganda and lies have been designed to make people who have not paid very careful attention to this issue simply afraid of it. There's a lot of Americans who think there's a whole reservoir of people who would just love to ruin their lives with drug abuse if only it was legal. Now, in Portugal, they decriminalized, they legalized consumption of all drugs 10 years ago, and you know what they learned? More people don't use drugs. It's just no longer a crime. That's a pretty big revelation. A lot of Americans think that marijuana is a gateway drug. A couple of tokes and all of a sudden you're a heroin addict. Well, in the Netherlands, it's been 25 years since they've arrested anybody for smoking pot, and they've got a track record. They care about it as much as we do. And they've found that not many more people smoke marijuana, and not any more people are into hard drugs, and their hard drug taking population is aging. It's a successful thing when you take the crime out of the marijuana. Now, if marijuana is a gateway drug, it's only a gateway drug because it's illegal, because that means there's criminals on the street with a vested interest in getting you into marijuana so you can get into more profitable, more expensive, and more addictive drugs. The only thing gateway about marijuana is its illegality. Now, the United States is out of sync with the world, and we need to wake America up and tell them that there is a harm reduction approach to drug abuse that is more effective and pragmatic than locking people up. HempFest is a wonderful celebration of cannabis culture, but I'll tell you, we're never going to legalize things unless you guys mobilize. This is a great party, it's a lot of fun, but you got to go out there and make it not scary, and you got to get the truth through to people in the suburbs who are scared to death about this.
All right.
It's not scary. Now, we need to support advocacy groups with our money so they can wage our battle for us. I'm a board member of NORML. There's a lot of good groups. For 10 years I've been a board member of NORML, and I'll tell you, those advocacy groups that are fighting against the drug war, or drug war in our country, are not charities, they're services, and they're fighting your battle, and they're waging a courageous and dogged struggle in our state house and in our national government. We need to support them. We're at a crossroads right now in our society, just like we were in the 1930s when we were taking down the laws against alcohol. And courageous people are starting to speak out now, and it's an exciting opportunity. Mayor LaGuardia of New York in the 1930s said that if a society has a law on the books that it does not intend to enforce consistently across the board, the very existence of that law corrodes law enforcement and respect of the law in general in a society. That's a serious problem. We've got that today. There's no intentions of enforcing our marijuana laws. They're not going to lock up all of us. If they did that, tomorrow Seattle would be a much less interesting city. I'm a hardworking, kid-raising, church-going, tax-paying citizen of the United States of America, and if I work all day and want to go home and enjoy a joint, that's my civil liberty. This is not hard on drugs, it's not soft on drugs. I'm just trying to inject a little bit of European common sense and pragmatism. We need to see drugs as a health problem, not a criminal issue. And then we can move beyond hard on drugs and soft on drugs. We can be smart on drugs, all right? Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. Have fun and happy travels, even if you're just staying home, okay? Have fun. Thank you, Rick Steve.
His crew built this amazing stage. In fact, we have 6 stages for your convenience and pleasure. So let's show our love to John Davis. Can you believe this stage? I've been to a lot of cannabis-related events, and I'll tell you, I've never seen a crowd as great. I've never seen a stage as auspicious. And certainly, I feel very proud of the people and the bands, the performers, and the ASL interpreters, and the great techs, and our great media crew, and our great sound crew, and our incredible documentary team that is here. It's just unbelievable. I can't tell you what a natural high it is to look out and see all you great folks here.
Free game, feel free to go inside. Have fun, enjoy yourself.
Check it down, Sean. We're running 20 minutes over, so we got to get the Lonnie Rose Band up here soon because I can only make up this stuff so long, even though I'm talking from the heart. But it's probably ready to go.
August 25th, take back the streets.
I'm not So how's it been going today?
It's been going fairly well. It's yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, this is about my 5th one, and I try to do this every year. Probably be my last one though, because got my time in. Everybody's behaving themselves. Looks like everybody's having a good time.
This has been a more professional event from a musician standpoint than most events I've played at, really. They even came and picked my merchandise up for me from where I rehearsed and brought it. I just thought that was really cool. So I've been very impressed. It's really interesting watching you tune my guitar.
Just tell us who you are and what brings you to HempFest.
Hi, Fat James. I'm a blues player from around the Futuropolis area. And I'm here at HempFest because I believe in the cause. I think, I suppose I'm a pretty extreme liberal, but I think it's insanity well, I suppose I think it's insane that there are laws against drugs rather than just helping people who have problems with them. It's not the kind of world I understand. And the thought of people going to prison for pot, or even life in prison, this is insanity. And I sort of knew my fellow Americans were a little bit of nuts around the edges, but to me this is just a no-brainer. It's very silly, tragically silly.
Now, a lot of folks probably noticed on our poster this year we have an African-American gentleman. Some people have come up to me and asked me why. The answer is because so many of the people going to prison for nonviolent drug crimes are African-American. In fact, 60% of our state prisoners for nonviolent drug offenses are African-Americans. Yet African-Americans make up 12% of the U.S. population. That is blatantly racist, and it's perpetrated by the drug war.
For it to be a felony, I think is ridiculous. And I think it's the worst form of discrimination, because the moment you have any type of felony on your record, you're not going to get any sort of decent job that looks into that type of stuff, which I think
or even better yet, they're not getting good employees because people are afraid to take the drug test. If you take a piss test, it might come out clean, but then they got that technology now where they can read if you're using something to like cover up your urine. So, or even if you look like a weed smoker, there's a lot of jobs you wouldn't even apply to because you're going to consistently smoke weed.
Mm-hmm.
Smell.
He's a bad
like a real man should. And I ain't trying to stop, girl, till you shake real good. Check it out. You know I'll be the man. I got the master plan. You better call Tyrone. Call me baby, just call me Kiki. I do that stuff all night. I like to. You can do that shit. You can do that shit. Bad. No, primo. No, primo. Bad. He's a bad man. Tyrone. Back to the crib, we was getting real funky. Had you twitching in the corner like a crackhead junkie. I hit it all night, baby, all night long, like a real man should. And I ain't trying to stop, girl, till you shake real good. Check it out. You know I'll be the man. I got the master plan. You better call Tyrone. Call me, baby. Just call me Kiki. I do that stuff all night. I like to keep tired. You better call Tyrone. Bring it down one time, sir. You got it. Sir. Back to the crib. Back to my crib. We was getting real funky. You know the deal. You know the deal. Had you twitching in the corner. What? Like a crackhead junkie. I hit it all night, baby. All night. Like a real man should. And I ain't trying to stop, girl, till you shake real good. Check it out. You know I'll be the man. Call me, baby. Just call me Kiki. I do like stuff all night. I like to keep you tight. You better call Tyrone. Call me, baby. Yeah, you know I'll be the man. I got the master plan. You better call Tyrone. I do that shit all night. I like to keep it tight. You better call Tyrone.
As you can see, the revolution is sexy.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, we got invited by the Seattle Columbia Committee, and my family lives in Columbia, and if you're not aware, there's a situation going on there. There's a so-called war on drugs, and it's basically a war on the people and civil society there, and so we feel that this is a different way of doing our activism through art and through creative, using our imagination. So we just did that piece to give a synopsis of what's going on in Latin America in general, specifically in Colombia.
When I'm watching the Super Bowl and I see that they're saying people like me are, in addition to like mowing the lawn and having some nachos, also murdered a family in Colombia, I take offense to that. Who else takes offense to that? I did not murder a family in Colombia, and it is the people that are propagating those ads that are responsible, and they're going to keep on I can't even imagine how many families are going to die because of our drug war in Colombia.
My son Todd is currently a prisoner in the federal system in Terminal Island, which is near Long Beach in California. He was arrested in July of 1995 for cultivating marijuana.
They pounded the gavel and they rang on the bell. 2 times life in a federal cell. Citations.
Here's a good one. I listen to right-wing radio, talk shows. They're fascinating. They can be really irritating, but they're fascinating. And I heard Rush Limbaugh once. Several years ago, some guy called in and he was advocating legalizing drugs. And Limbaugh cut him off and said, under no circumstances, why I personally, he said, know 2 basketball players whose careers were almost ruined because of cocaine. And I thought, I'll bet you anything that those 2 basketball players got caught. Okay? Which basically proves the caller's point. Because if it hadn't been illegal, their careers wouldn't have almost been ruined, right, Rush? Yeah. So if I'm going to smoke pot, does that bother anybody? It's illegal, so what? In Germany, it was illegal to save Jews. I mean, come on, it's silly.
All of our offspring could just absolutely go into non-existence if homosexuality keeps blossoming, you see. That's why we should all be thankful for AIDS. I started smoking pot. Now, once I started sucking on those joints, what's the next step?
Straight there. I mean, have they pretty much been hostile, or have they been open to your opinions?
For the most part, they've been very negative.
I know I look good to you.
What did he say?
I know I look good.
I know I look good to you.
We're used to it. We do this quite a bit. In our own cities where we're from.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
Yeah.
You are such a stud!
I know.
I'm gonna come. Look at
I
you.
used to get upset at guys like
A lot of people might think of it as very turn of the century sort of thing. And I know those problems.
Put your hands together and please give a Seattle welcome to Seattle's very own Herbivores. They just get one uptight. Moves like a game. I guess it's time to go. Got the garbage job right now, and then the good times slow. What you gotta do in life is feel alright. Today you're feeling alright, brothers and sisters, you just ain't got it right. Drop all that baggage. Drop the baggage. Feel alright. baggage. Drop the baggage. Drop the baggage. Right now. Drop the baggage.
0799-2055 or send an email to Lanny, Lanny, at marijuana news, one word, marijuananews.org. If you are interested in getting involved politically with the Democratic Party, if you're interested in forming the Brownie Mary Democratic Club within your state political party, call me. I will tell you how to do it, and you can become part of it's really, let me tell you, it's fun to be part of the political process because you get there and you get to meet all these politicians. I've met everybody from Nancy Pelosi to Governor Newsom to just all down the line through there. It's very, very exciting.
And if you are looking for a doctor to help you get a medical marijuana permit anywhere in the United States, we have a referral service. If you have any of these conditions or know someone that does, call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. I want to thank you for coming on, Lanny.
My pleasure,
Hopefully
Paul.
we'll have you back up here sometime soon. It's a long drive, I know. We're going to go out with a little bit of music from Quiltman, honoring John Trudell. We'll be out with live shows for the next 2 weeks, but we'll be back in the middle of July because our studio closes down for the holidays, and boys and girls clubs have some classes here. But I want to thank you for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore him. Good night.
Good words, good thoughts, good actions. Follow the sky into the blue. You are part sky, sky is part you. Oi, ah, oi, oi, ah, oi, oi, ah, eh, ah, yeah, eh, you. Oi, ah, eh, ah, oi, ah, oi, oi, ah, oi, oi, ah. Good words, good thoughts, good actions. Follow the sky into the blue. You